welcome back, guys. It's LEGATO Mods, here to do an overview video on one of my first integrations, actually the first integration I've ever done, ORION. This was my concept for a rival sniper rifle. It's a integration of a long shot stock into an Apollo, rival series Apollo body, and as the main blaster, and then a Centurion barrel to kind of give it that sniper look and extend the overall appearance. Originally, I had kind of photoshopped this as a concept to do, and I got the idea. I had wanted the barrel to be just a little longer and use the full Centurion barrel, but when I got started, I had ran into an issue that the high impact rounds actually didn't pass through the first part right here where the extended part of this barrel would be. It was too narrow. It's actually more narrow at the front of the Centurion barrel than the back, or this area, if that makes sense. I talked to a couple people actually online and about the concept, and they claimed it could not be done because of that narrowness there. And thankfully I had a little bit of help from some people you may be familiar with, one of which was Mr. Nathan's Mods, or Mr. Nathan. He actually instant messaged me and we talked a little bit back and forth, and he kind of guided me on a way to make it work, recommended what the diameter needed to be. But overall it was a fairly simple process. I had started by removing the long shots stock and attaching it to this via epoxy. I just cut the back here corner of the Apollo after I'd taken both parts shells apart. Marked it off with Sharpie, chopped it there, and then I epoxied that in place as evenly as possible so that it was pretty flush with the top there. There's no gap at all in the top part here. Then I went ahead and took the Centurion barrel off of the Centurion, and I began shaping it to this. That's when I ran into that issue of I went to drop a round through there and I saw it bounce around in the middle and realized it's not going to work. So I, after some troubleshooting, got that all figured out. This barrel is machine screwed in through the cap here into this barrel here, so it can be removed. All I have to do is take apart the body of the Apollo, and the cap comes off like that, and I can get a screwdriver in and undo that from either side. It's also epoxied on the inside as well, so that it's on there, it's not going anywhere. Yeah, after that I really just put it back together, as many of the pieces as I could, and started painting. I didn't put anything together yet. While it was still disassembled, I started with the base coat of the copper, and then I went over it, taped off sections, went over it with a chrome, and then I went in with a little bit of a black paint pen and did these accenting lines as well. Some of these here to match the priming bar and the handle, because I realized about midway through the process that just wasn't going to match. And because this gets touched the most, I did not want to paint it and then have to really thoroughly clear coat it and have it stick through here and have to really lubricate this area where you have to prime it. It just seemed like a pain. So I decided instead to just make the aesthetic match the handle and the priming rod. I do plan to in the future move this priming rod here to the right side since I'm left-handed. I would like to put it over here as a bolt. That way I can attach a longer rail on here and get a scope, because I mean, technically it doesn't have to have a scope to be a sniper, but come on, we all know a real sniper needs a scope. It's real late at night, so I can't do a firing demo right now, but I will include at the end of this video the little firing test that I did on Instagram originally, just to show you guys that yes, this is operational, it is possible, you can put a Centurion barrel on the end there, and it will fire just fine. Not amazingly. I did actually do some improvements. I took out the air restrictor, and I put in a spacer, actually a makeshift spacer on the spring, which is working surprisingly well. But that was also before I knew about the existence of much better springs like the K25 or K26. So I'll probably end up getting something like that in here eventually so I can get some really good, really far distance shots. I don't plan on this. This was never supposed to be an exceptionally accurate build. It was my first integration. That was one reason I went with an Apollo as the center body. A lot of people ask me why I didn't go with a Helios, and the answer was that I didn't have a Helios and I didn't want to go buy one, and I had 4 Apollos, so I didn't mind if I ruined one doing something new. The one real big complaint I actually had about this is that this was the first time I'd ever done any work putting things together, and I only used epoxy, and I used a ton of it on the outside here, and I wish I could remember the brand I used, but it wouldn't sand down very well. You can see it's kind of elevated and bubbled here. Even after I let it cure, it was way too gummy and rubbery, and it just wouldn't sand. Now I know about epoxy sculpt, and I use that in all my current integrations and builds now, and it works really, really well. If you guys have any questions about this, hit me up in the comments, ask me anything you'd like to know about it. I'd love to hear what you guys think. As always, thank you guys for watching. If you like what you saw, go ahead and hit the like button and hit the subscribe so you don't miss any more of my videos. Thanks again.